Videos like this are made possible by viewers like you. Ralph Smart has predicted the end of the world, and lucky for us, it's soon. In this video, we're going to look at what makes a good end of the world prediction, and then we're going to see how Ralph Smart's prediction stacks up. And of course, it wouldn't be a Ralph Smart response video if Ralph wasn't serving up something utterly ridiculous, so seatbelts on, I guess. And let's talk about this. Hello everyone, if you're new here, I'm Andy Fellows and I make videos on cults, skepticism and making sense of life after New Age spirituality. If you're interested in a more grounded and skeptical approach to New Age spirituality, then why not subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. So Ralph Smart's done what most in his position do sort of sooner or later and gone full on end times mode. And as you'll see in this video, he's given us some genuine hogwash.
December 21st, 2020, the world officially ends.
So before we look at Ralph Smart's prediction, let's lay a little bit of groundwork and just quickly let's talk about what makes an end of the world prediction worth listening to versus one that can just join the pile of things that we'll never think about again. Along with the phrase in alignment with your higher self and the taste of spirulina.
Spirulina.
A good prediction of the end, and one I'd take a little bit more seriously, is going to have these three things. 1. A fleshed out definition of exactly what the end will entail, making obvious allowances for what can't be known ahead of time. 2. Clear and specific signs that the end is upon us, signs which stand up to scrutiny and can't be conclusively explained by some other cause. And 3. Some substantial evidence to back up the claim, which includes an explanation as to why the end is imminent if it is available. Usually end times predictions given by people in the business of control fall short in these three areas. And it's in their falling short that they become useful mechanisms of influence. Where specificity is lacking, the gaps are filled by confirmation bias, retrofitted meaning, and covert methods of control. For the sake of comparison, I think a good end of the world prediction would be climate change. With climate change, you've got clear and specific signs of a gradual progression towards an inhospitable world, a fleshed out definition of what we're facing as things get worse, more evidence than it's sensible to ignore, and an explanation as to why it's happening. And although it is being ignored by people who prefer money, a toxic status quo, or just, flat out denial, the people who have been talking about it, climate change experts, haven't been talking about it as if it's just sort of some inevitable storm that we're all going to have to weather. They're talking about it as if it's been quite preventable all along. With cults, the end time predictions usually come with a how-to on what to do when the end does come and how to best prepare for it. The inevitability of the end is assumed, and there's really nothing quite like an impending apocalypse to staple in that compliance. If the cult members follow their instructions, then they and they alone will be spared, and if they don't follow the instructions, then, well, they'll be left out in the cold, or, if your version of the end includes hellfire, then you'll be left out in the hot. The Jehovah's Witnesses have got this down to a T. They use the Bible in a creative way to make otherwise vague predictions mean something. Armageddon is positioned as some great purifier, the great tribulation, which only those who follow the Watchtower's strict rules will survive, only the Watchtower's most loyal. On the other side, a paradise which begins with a stunning display of necromancy on Jehovah's part and proceeds with vegetarian lions, tucked in button-up shirts, and the expectation that everyone will just behave this time. And no, I don't know why there's a graveyard in paradise. It doesn't make any sense. Unless these images were created for the sole purpose of stirring up the pain of loss to hook people in and or keep them on a false promise. Now, all of that said, let's talk about Ralph Smart's predictions. I've reordered some of the clips here because his videos are very sort of stream of consciousness-y and very repetitive, and he does these sort of funny, quirky things that just don't land at all for me and a number of other people who've commented that in my previous Ralph Smart response videos. So I've edited all that out, sort of reordered it so it's a bit more cohesive. But if you want to see the original video from Ralph, then I've included a link to that in the description below. First things first, let's have one little clip which contextualizes some of what Ralph's saying in this video.
The people that run this planet Earth, the inorganic ones, they can only do it through your ignorance. They can only run the planet through your ignorance, but they do it because they are united.
Yeah, that's the level that we're coming in on. Like I said, seatbelts on. So straight out the gate, Ralph seems to be locking in this sort of love versus fear narrative here. They want control over us, and COVID-19 has been all a part of their plan to divide us and to have greater control. All to bring in this new world order that we've all heard so much about over these last few years and very little actual evidence to validate claims about. These are all part of or stepping stones towards the end. And Ralph talks a lot about sort of the new world order and conspiracy theories in general. So I'm not going to go over anything I've covered in previous Ralph Smart videos. Here, we're just going to skip on to the sort of newer things that he's saying. If you want to see more on me from Ralph Smart, then there's other videos, as I said before. I've linked them in the description. Ralph Smart's central claim here on the end of the world is this.
December 21st, 2020. The world officially ends.
So we've got a specific date, but that alone doesn't give us very much to work with. A lot of really bullshit predictions have specific dates in them. Jehovah's Witnesses have a shitload. And actually, Ralph Smart's predictions here are about as flimsy as the whole 1914 debacle. Listen to this.
2020 is actually 2012. You see, we are in the Gregorian calendar, one of the oldest calendars on the planet, the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar. It's actually the year 2012. Now, December 21st, 2012, that's when the Mayan calendar ended. It signified the ending of the world as we know it. 2012 is actually 2020. And December 21st, 2020 is when the world will officially end as you know it, and it will be the introduction of the new world order.
Okay, 3 points here. Stick with me. First point, what's the Mayan calendar got to do with the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar? Is it just because the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar is one of the oldest calendars in the world? Is this whole thing dependent on an appeal to antiquity fallacy? Really, Ralph? We talked about this before. Just because something is old doesn't mean it's true, and the age of something has no bearing on the truth of a thing. It's incidental at best. Second point, I'm pretty sure we only got the 2012 date from lining up the Mayan long count calendar with the Julian calendar and then translating it over into the Gregorian calendar. So they've taken that if we line these calendars up, we get the 2012 date thing, and then they've put a pin in 2012. They've removed the Julian and Gregorian calendars and they've replaced it with the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar and gone, well, 2012 in the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar is this year, so it's the end of the world this year. It's the most... just doesn't make any sense. It's the most flawed logic. The Mayan calendar wasn't created to be interpreted through the Gregorian calendar and then superimposed over the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar to vindicate attachments to nonsense. This is honestly ludicrous. It is total bullshit. Oh, and third point, going by the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar, it's not even fucking 2012 anymore. On the 11th of September, they welcomed a new year in Ethiopia. So it's now 2013 in Ethiopia. So on the 21st of December 2020, it's not even going to be 2012 in the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar. But the funny thing is that Ralph Smart uploaded this video on the 4th of September. So what it looks like he did was maybe Googled like when what year it was in the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar, found out that it was 2012 in the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar, and then just kind of assumed maybe that the new year was when our new year was without really thinking about it. And so kind of just went, it's 2012 in the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar, when it was when he made the video. It's not anymore, and it won't be on the date that he said the world's supposed to end. So it just kind of, like, if that date had any relevance, that relevance is now gone. So this part of his claim about the Ethiopian Orthodox calendar is just wrong in every conceivable way. Like, it is wholesale made out of whole cloth. It's nice when it's easy, isn't it? But his claim doesn't stop there. He goes on.
I told you, there are going to be two new world orders. The first one is of control, subjugation, submission, subservience. This is what 95% of the planet will be in when the world officially ends and a new one starts.
This whole two new world orders thing fits in quite nicely with the whole love and fear dichotomy, right? There'll be one new world order, there'll be one world, a new earth, as Ralph mentions later, for the people who have chosen love, and the new world order will be for the people who have chosen fear. He's doing a good job of establishing the us versus them, I'll give him that. And of course, he continues telling his viewers to expect that not everybody's going to make it.
If you are someone who can see what's really going on and you're not falling for it, you're no longer drinking the Kool-Aid, it's about to be a rebirth. Not everyone's going to make it. Even your family, your friends, many people are still going to hold on to the system, live in fear. Oh, I got to do what they say. I got to do this. I got to do that. Not everyone's going to make it to the new earth. A lot of people are going to be trapped in the new world order. But it seems like, well, you are on your way to the new earth. Woo! And you're going to meet the cat down the road nigh there, okay? With a whole bunch of grapes waiting for you.
The scary thing is that if you look at QAnon and the sort of growing subculture of conspiracy theories, what Ralph's describing here sounds like something that could actually happen. And honestly, I feel like it kind of already is happening to a certain extent. Facts are already being devalued left, right, and center, and what Ralph's describing may actually be the case, but it may just be the case from inside of the factless bubble of the people that believe this kind of nonsense. Here's what I reckon. As the division of learning increases and gaps in knowledge are filled in by paranoia and uneducated guesses, the divide between mostly evidence-based worldviews and mostly non-evidence-based worldviews may well widen more and more. And as nice and self-gratifying as it might be, I don't think that self-righteously bursting factless bubbles with facts is going to be an answer to this. Right, okay, next clip. Do you remember when Netflix's Explain did that episode on cults and then they included a clip of Ralph Smart in it, and then Ralph got all up in arms about it and he started saying that society is a cult and he was going to sue Netflix? Watch this and tell me what you think.
The world is ending. As we know, it's never, ever going to be the same. It's only going to be more control unless you are one of the chosen ones and creating the new earth. And like I always say, the solution is strength in numbers. United we stand, divided we fall. Unity can turn this whole thing around. Love can turn this whole thing around. Love is the answer right now. Start connecting with your tribe, because your family may not get you. Your husband may not get you. Your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. But you have to find people like you who get you, who don't call you a conspiracy theorist. They don't dismiss you. And now you're hearing about Pizzagate, child sex trafficking, all of that. It's all coming out now. Oh.
And that QAnon stuff at the end as well. I want to make a point here of saying that there's a whole chunk of this video from Ralph that I haven't actually included in this video. He's talking about being messaged by a woman who believes in conspiracy theories and she's fighting with her husband about it, and he mentions that she's got a kid and that's part of the arguments. And then he says what you've just seen in that clip later in the video. Are we really going to be potentially breaking up families over this, Ralph? And he brings that up again later too. I really hope that's not what he's suggesting here, but honestly, it's kind of tough to imagine a way in which he means that he's not suggesting genuinely like leaving your family and finding someone new that you can be with that agrees with you and will just support all of your wild conspiracy theories. And of course, even when he's saying stuff like that, he's given us no clearly defined signs on exactly how to tell that this control is there as well. And he also says this in the video.
Safe is another word for control.
This persistent insistence that nothing is what it seems to me to be effectively just sowing seeds of distrust and paranoia. And then, of course, he starts telling people what to do to prepare for the coming end of the world.
You have to learn how to grow your own fruits and vegetables. You have to be self-sufficient. You also have to learn how to fast, intermittent fasting. Band together with people who are like you, who think like you. Have a family with someone who thinks like you, because you're going to need them. And you have to say, hey, I got to get off the grid so they can't track and trace me. We're now coexisting with Mother Nature in a harmonious way. We're not going against it.
Now, as far as preparations for the end goes, these are pretty light. I obviously don't agree or believe anything that he's saying about the end of the world being imminent, but I don't hate all of these suggestions as far as like maybe lifestyle changes or, you know, ways to feel more connected with sort of nature and that kind of stuff. If that's what you're into, it's not going to be for everyone, but I do like the idea of living off the grid a little bit and maybe growing my own fruit and veg and, you know, not having surveillance capitalists tracking every single thing that I'm doing all the time for their own ends and infringing on my privacy at every available opportunity. But for someone who does seem to be a bit worried about Orwellian control in the future, Ralph doesn't seem to be that concerned about plugging data scooping services in his videos. Like, for someone so intent on this, like I think he uploads videos pretty much every day. If for someone who's that passionate about this, is he really just sitting there chatting shit on the internet, or is he involved in initiatives? Is he providing resources for his viewers so that they can educate themselves and maybe move towards the kind of life that he's suggesting? Or is he just chatting shit? I don't know. Maybe he is doing that. I don't know. Still, I think you can want to live off the grid, be concerned about surveillance capitalism, and, not want our species to fuck up this entire planet beyond repair, and not go so far down the rabbit hole that you're literally necking droppings just to breathe. So, all in all, how does this prediction from Ralph Smart, Infinite Waters Diving Deep, stack up? Overall, to me, this feels like a let's whip everybody up into an end of the world prediction frenzy without ever really establishing goalposts and imbuing it with the regular kind of sort of empowerment. You're the chosen one. You're the one that can see through all of the matrix and all that kind of stuff. That kind of a rhetoric. Like, let's keep it specific enough to keep people talking about it, buying my products, feeling empowered as a chosen one, and maybe potentially, abandoning their family. But let's keep it vague enough to let me off the hook when it doesn't happen. And let's not forget that the entire basis of this claim is whole cloth. It's absolute nonsense. And then there's this.
Planet Nibiru, Planet X you're gonna see it. You're gonna see all of those aliens, right? They've been hiding from you. It's about to be epic.
No time to talk about aliens and the definite credibility that claim adds to Ralph's otherwise reasonable content. The end of the world's coming, so we better go buy some land we can definitely afford and get good at fasting, because it's going to be a long winter without all that fruit and veg that you've just planted in fucking October. I'm Andy Fellows, and I'm here pretty much every Thursday. Please subscribe to the channel for more, and if you want to help support the channel, then the best way to do that is through Patreon. There's a link to that in the description. Otherwise, please be kind and ask good questions, and I'll see you in the next one.